really crazy, amazing material that I think that you have to be kind of smart to even, I guess, embrace and comprehend. And so I've got this look going on right now because I want everybody to think that I'm very serious and that I'm very smart in order to know this crazy, crazy psychology involved in this business. But I'm not, I can't claim that I figured any of this out until just like last week. So this look is like new for me, right? But it's not very authentic and real. So just imagine that for the next hour, you're going to hear from a person that looks smart. But really, that's just not me. I mean, who are we fooling? This is what you get, baby. So here we go. You ready? I didn't cut my hair, but I got to play the role because this is impactful, crazy stuff that after you hear tonight, you're going to go, oh, of course, this is so perfect. This makes perfect sense now. So I needed you to think for a brief moment that I was maybe like librarian Sybil or something, but I'm not. So
I thought your mom was coming out for a minute.
The librarian, my inner librarian.
Your mom, right?
Well, my mom is actually more wild than I am. So anyway, we call her Babs. We don't even refer to her as grandma or her first name. She's truly wild, but she raised me, so I guess something worked, right? So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I don't know if I've ever been this excited about delivering a topic. And I think it's because it's so timely and it's something that we absolutely need to hear. And at the end of this call, it's going to totally make sense. And hopefully from this day forward, you can use this concept to totally alter the future of the way you're going to do this business. Because really and truly, this business is not a heart-led business. What? I heard it was. That's why I'm in this business, right? No. It's great to understand that we all have big hearts, but it's a total psychology game. This business is all based on psychology. And I just got this last week. Yeah. So I've been in this industry since 1997. If I would have known now what I knew then, I could have changed so many things in both my previous company, the way I did business, and in this particular environment. So I really think that it's important, first of all, to kind of just get in the headspace that we're going to need to be in to accept this information that I'm going to give you. So this is like deep, pretty deep stuff, hence the glasses and the ponytail. And I really want you to think about how you can use this information with your teams. So some of it will be a little applicable to your own psyche and your own brain, but I really want you to think about using this crucial stuff to move forward with your organization, with their teams, with people that you've already enrolled, all right? So I think that we all have to get into that place in our heads. Like, are you guys all open to these sort of concepts and understanding that in order to grow past where we are right now, we have to do something different. We have to grow beyond where we are right now. That probably means that we need to accept a few new skills. And skill, I think, is really a key word here, because wouldn't we all agree that this is a skill-based business? Skill-based, like we can learn this, right? We're not all just wildly successful because we've just kind of got this little flair going on. I mean, some people do, but some people don't. But you see all different types of people. And next week with NYKO coming, you're going to see every walk of life, every type of personality, every shape and size of person that has still experienced an amazing amount of success with this particular company, Isogenics, right? So think about that, and think about the fact that from this day on, you need to speak from the heart, and it can be all warm and cozy, but understand that it really isn't a heart-based business. It's a skill-based business. Like, you have to embrace that right now, tonight, or a lot of what I'm going to say is just going to make you upset and confused and frustrated. So can we all agree that this is a skill-based business, and that you're coming from a super crazy new spot in your brain that you're just going to devote to this new style of mentoring, of coaching, of leading, all right? So I'm assuming most people on this call are leading teams. You've enrolled some people, and this information you can then use and apply with your own leadership and your own team building. So here we go. This is kind of the best way to, I guess, summarize what I'm going to be talking about, is that this is all about persuasion rather than persuasion. So we're doing a lot of stuff before the conversation, a bunch of work before we start really getting into the nitty-gritty. So persuasion rather than persuasion. And I think that many of us need to face the fact that we are holding ourselves back. We have to get out of our own way. So if you think that you would be successful if only my team would grasp this fact that they've got to enroll, or if only my team would engage in a bunch of stuff, or if only my team would do the posts and actually enroll people so that I can cycle, that is just kind of coming from the wrong place. Like, every single thing that we do, our team will model. And so a lot of this stuff that we know after being in this company as long as we have, or in this industry as long as we have, it's stuff that we had to do first, right? Like, we had to go first. We had to take the first step. So I'm very, very passionate with my team when I say I'm never going to ask you guys to do something that I'm not willing to do myself, or that I haven't already done. So again, we're persuading the end result that we want to start seeing happen. When we think about skill-based businesses, were you guys all really awesome the first tasting that you did, or the first enrolling phone call that you did, or even your first Facebook post that you did? No, I was a freaking train wreck. Sweat was like billowing out of my armpits. I probably had like beads of sweat right on my face, and I was probably shaking in my boots. And even though a lot of people know me from, having a successful previous career, or teaching tons and tons and tons, 23 years of cycling classes, it's posture for sure, but I'm still human and I still get nervous. So I was a wreck. I was, not equipped to do this. I didn't know a single thing about any of the products. I didn't know what whey protein was. I didn't know, what ashwagandha root is, nor do I yet have that figured out. I didn't know anything about what an adaptogen was, telomere, what? No, I didn't know any of that, but I figured it out, and I figured out a place that I could go to learn it. So, and I was telling my team today that most every single thing that I've acquired, I acquired at a tasting. So tastings are, one of those basic things that we've got to get back to, because I've probably gone to and facilitated about 200 tastings, and that's where I learned about so many things. So I'm just trying to establish the fact that this stuff can be taught and people can acquire it. So if we can move forward knowing that this is a skill-based business, then people can be very, very open to it and understand that, yeah, you're pretty awesome at this, Sybil, but I too can be awesome at it because you've just instilled in me that I too can learn it. And I think that that's really, really key, because people just think, she's got it and I don't, therefore I can't, right? So you've definitely got to establish it with your teammates that they can teach it, they can learn it, and they can be just as awesome, if not more awesome than you. And you really want success is when, they go past you. And I think that, there's no better model of success than when somebody goes way beyond you as their leader. In this particular company, we're allowed to do that. We can make more money than the person that enrolled us. And in that case, it would be like $13,500 a week. That would be awesome. I can handle a little bit of that. All right. So the other mindset that you kind of have to get into when you are starting to have these conversations with people, you see something amazing in somebody and you're like, gosh, they've got it. They could be a leader on my team. I'm going to reach out and call these people. You've got to, first of all, come from a really good place. You can't be angry. You can't be frustrated. You can't be exasperated. When you have these calls with people to just kind of invite them along on the journey with you, you have to be willing to establish kind of the same things that I've established with you guys, this foundation of really open mind, kind of a new way of looking at something. But if you are upset or angry, you're doing it wrong. You're just doing it wrong. I mean, this is an army of volunteers. So if they say no, are you going to handle it okay? Because if you're not, you probably need to avoid doing that call right at that time. Because I want you to think about the first people in your life that got upset with you. Who are they? Most of us have to say our parents, right? So because, we were children and we knew when we were upsetting our parents, we don't want to establish that sort of relationship with any of our teammates. We are not their parents. They do not behave well and like that feeling when they think that they've made you angry or they've upset you or they've put you in that place. People revert back to those feelings pretty easily because they're very, very instilled, very ingrained. So you definitely don't want to establish any sort of anger, frustration, disappointment even. People just don't respond well to that. So try to keep always, a happy face, and don't really ever let a person go back to that childhood phase, because it's just going to be one disappointment after another and it just won't work well. So you definitely want to make sure that they're open to it, and, definitely instill a bunch of positivity into them. And that's really why you're making the call to begin with. It's very authentic. You see something in them that maybe they haven't seen in themselves. And where the psychology really comes in is, how do you then get them to believe in themselves? Because what I'm going to talk to you about is, if you think that you can create that in them when they don't see it in themselves, it's not going to happen. And again, I've been in this industry for long enough, and I've pulled and dragged, and I call it weekend at Bernie's. Like I bring dead people with me, and then they drag you down, and they are exhausting. And that's where a lot of people in this particular company are right now, maybe in their 4th, 5th year. Things were awesome, peachy. We were going fast. We were dreaming. We were making money. We were buying new cars and all kinds of crazy, crazy things. People's husbands were retiring from work because they didn't need extra money. No, we're going to be millionaires in 6 months because the leader before us did that. You have to realize that this really, really is a crucial moment. I mean, you have to face the fact that that might be one of the reasons that you faced such exhaustion, that you're questioning whether this is a good fit for you, because these Bernies, these dead people that you bring along with you are never going to ever change. I don't give up on people, and I should actually, because it's exhausting when I'm, constantly doing CPR on the same person. But that I thought was always a really great skill of mine, that I didn't want to give up on somebody, or I could then instill greatness in them or instill leadership. They just didn't know yet. Nobody had shown them the way yet. Well, I was going to be the one that was going to let them step into their leadership and finally get some credit, because at home they don't get credit and awards and trophies and really even very good pay, folding laundry well, right? I was going to be the person that was going to take them along on that journey and change their future, because I was going to instill in them that they were great, that they were leaders, that they could actually handle a lot of the pressures. And until they want to do it, they're not going to do it. They're just not. They will find every excuse why they can't. So you got to have grit. You got to have skills. You've got to engage and apply the skills that you've learned. And you have to understand that there's always some good and bad in everything. And you have to deal with the bad of the good. So that's kind of an oxymoron. But if you really think about it, this is a good thing. It's a good business. We love what we do. We see a ton of good. But you have to deal with the bad of the good. And for me, it's been hard to deal with people just giving up on themselves, with people taking a bunch of my time and hours and coaching and phone calls to just find out that, little Johnny gets a sniffle, and everything we've just talked about and dreamed and visualized and goal set goes out the window because little Johnny gets a sniffle. Well, it's not little Johnny's sniffle that's keeping them from their goals. It's them. It's them keeping themselves from their goals because for whatever reason, they don't think they're worth it. It takes too much time. But it never is about little Johnny's sniffle. It's about them, right? So this is really, again, about all of this stuff that goes into this crazy business that we just thought was about shakes and heart. Well, there's a bunch of other stuff that goes along with it. So in order to move beyond where we are right now, to grow the business, we have to always be reminded that you're always working on yourself too. And you as a leader who's then going to try to instill all of this stuff, you are always building on your own beliefs, and you're having experiences that are either good or bad. And you can use those with these people that are either Bernies or amazing builders. So we've got the Bernies and the builders. We'll take it that way. So in a relationship, did you realize that the person who cares less about the relationship actually owns the power? I didn't know that either. And between my two marriages, I've got 30 years under my belt. And this would have been awesome information, like when I was 24 and starting off on this little journey with another person. So in a marriage, if the wife really values the relationship less than the husband, the wife actually holds the power. And I kind of like that scenario myself. Anyway, so the husband is going to do more and respect the relationship more and put more effort towards the happiness of the union, right? And in a relationship with a girlfriend, with a friend, the person who cares less about the relationship, who cares less about how much time and effort and GIFs or gifts are sent through the text, actually the person who cares less about it has the more power, has definitely is able to kind of call the shots in the relationship. So, and I think that can change, that can evolve over time, but it's really important to use that philosophy in this sort of team building. Always make sure that your team knows that you value the heck out of them and you believe in all of them, but you can't ever want anything more for them than they want for them. Hard lesson. A lesson I found out for the first time last week, because I always wanted more for them. I always do. I mean, I've had people say, Sybil, this is not for me. I am not a leader. I've had people tell me I don't like people. And I still drag them with me to things, like put them in my back seat and drive them to Vegas to attend an event, thinking it's going to change their life. I know I'll be that person that changes them. But until they want to change themselves, sorry, Charlie, Bernie is still dead in the backseat, all right? So understand that power in relationships. And when you're kind of like really secure in your posture and maybe even a little aloof, don't you want the attention of that person more? And you're almost willing to like do back handsprings and stuff just so they'll notice you. I mean, this is just human nature. And if you go back to preschool and watching kids play in the sandbox, and you go to high school and you watch chicks trying to get dudes' attention that, they're the quarterback of the football team. I got to have his attention though. I've got to. I'm going to be a gymnast. I know I'm 6 feet tall and I should probably be playing basketball, but I heard he likes gymnasts, so I'm going to become one. That chick has no power with Joe the stud, right? I mean, like these experiences you can think upon in your own existence and understand where that was true. And across the board, it was true. I can't change history, right? So always understand that you can't want it more for them. So that right there is tough love, hard psychology lesson that will help us move along. So I want you to, from this day forward, think of yourself as the gasoline. You are gasoline. And there are people that we're going to refer to as wet wood. There's also sparks, and there's also fire. So think about it. If you were to throw gasoline on wet wood, would you start a fire? Or would it still just be wet wood with gasoline on it, right? So really important to think about categorizing people from this day forward, understanding that you can't make spark, you can't make fire without the key components. So you have to make sure that you're not just dragging the wet wood around. I mean, they can create spark, and maybe they once had it, but something has to happen, as if you've ever gone to a Brendan Bouchard event, something has to happen within them to make them change into a spark from the wet wood, right? So it's just, again, kind of a little physics lesson here. What if you threw gasoline on a spark? It ignites. And yes, it explodes, it ignites, it creates a big, huge something that can go on and actually set fire to more things, right? So you cannot create a spark in someone else. You cannot create fire in someone else. They have to do that. So I want you to think about how exhausting and excruciating it is when you really want to bring someone along and you drag them along because they don't see it in themselves, but yet you continue to just say, I know you're a spark. I know that you are. And usually what ends up happening is, in order to make yourself right, you end up building this business for them because you don't want to be a failure. You don't want to come off as, I was wrong. You actually are a bunch of wet wood. You are Bernie. Like, we want to be right in these situations. So we often make the calls. We do all of their tastings. We connect people on three-way messenger threads. We do their posts. We pay for them to attend celebration in Nashville and fly them across the country. We give them products left and right. We give them products that they can use in their own tastings. But what ends up happening is after you get exhausted and you move on to the next one, these people call you and say, hey, I really enjoyed, the money that I was making. I want to make some more money. And of course they were making money when you were doing their business for them, but can you sustain that? Not really. So they end up calling you and saying, hey, can you just keep on doing this? Keep on building this business? Keep on building like 17 other businesses while you're doing your own? And that's just not sustainable. And it's really not fair either, because it's nice and it's a nice trait and a nice quality, but it's really stealing joy and power and fun and time with the people that will actually be the spark. So just think about a lot of those times that you get those phone calls, you get those messages, and people say, I really want this, can you just get back to doing what you were doing for me when I was, first at this? And it's just impossible to sustain that. So I think that many of us on this call find ourselves like, oh, wow, I guess I'm not really physically capable of running 20 different business centers that are only paying me for one. So the two most critical resources that we have in this business that we possess, it's time and energy. So again, determining these three categories of people, you can then determine who you want to spend that time and that energy on. And the other thing that comes from that is respect. When you have somebody that is just constantly saying, hey, my cycles are down, and can you just get back to doing what you used to do for me? I want to make some more money. You actually say, I'll meet you halfway. I'll match your effort. I'll be there when I see, some return on this investment. Your time is your currency. And I think that people respect you more when you actually put your foot down. And, I've been having a few conversations with people, and I will say, this year, my mission is to match your effort, to meet you halfway, to really respect myself enough to know that what I did last year or the last 3 years with you is still not moving the needle. So we need to develop a new strategy so that you get to your goals and I remain like sane. There's just a whole bunch of respect that can go along with that. So think about how you are currently taking care of your time. Are you the type of person who answers every phone call, returns every text and messenger message within 3 seconds of you receiving it, especially when it's from that person that actually has more power in the relationship, and they know it? A lot of them really take, I think, advantage of those different scenarios. So who has had people call you and they're just like, what, I had a really horrible day and I just need like an hour with you, Sybil, and then I know I can be that rock star that you think I can be. And so you just spend like an hour just building them up, and you remind them about how awesome their hair looked yesterday. And I know, but you made a sandwich and you did that load of laundry, and little Johnny doesn't have a sniffle today, so you must be a fabulous person, right? And you're just like giving and giving and giving and pouring and pouring. And they're like, yeah, that's all I needed. I just needed a pep talk from you. And then I'm actually going to go and do the stuff that we talked about for the last 3 to 5 years. But at the end of that phone call, they're all excited and they've had their little fix. I literally have had people say, I need some city time. I need to be built up by city. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but like, is that shopping? Do I need to come over and do your makeup? Like, what are we doing? And I do it. I show up and do it. At the end of that phone call, at the end of that time, they're all pumped up and excited. You're totally drained. And now they're still not going to go and do the thing that they said they were going to do, right? Because nothing has changed. You've just fed them. You've just poured gasoline on that wet wood, and you're exhausted when they're still going to go and do the thing that's not the thing, right? So it's just time and time and time again. Pretty soon they lose all respect for you. Pretty soon they know that you're kind of a pushover. Pretty soon they're sending their friends to you because they know you're going to do it. You're going to do their friends' hair too because you're good at it. You want to. And it brings you some joy. Well, it doesn't really bring you joy if they're not really, really respecting your time and respecting your energy and respecting the outcome. And I think oftentimes too, they know that they're not going to fulfill that obligation that they made to you. So they just end up feeling kind of bad. It's a very temporary high. So I really want you to be thinking about your time and how that is such a hot commodity. And that is your currency. I've been using that word this year too. This is my currency. So if I'm going to do this, the way that you can pay me back is XYZ. So I want you to think about people earning your time, and you can actually offer an assignment in order to determine who does deserve your time. So an assignment would be something like this. Yeah, I'd love to chat. I'd love to come over and help do a makeover and reupholster your couch. But I really want to suggest that in order for me to do that, send me a list of 5 people that you're going to reach out to. So let's say that these are people that need to enroll, and that they've been telling you that they need to enroll. It's clear. It's been a discussion that you've had. Like, I know I need to enroll more people, but I just don't have the time, or I don't have the energy, but I really need to be coached once a week, or coached twice a week, or 5 times a week by you. So can you just continue just helping me and being practically like a digital Bia, and just energize me just at any time I need it. In those situations, you do have an option to come up with this little assignment. So you say, yeah, I'll have that conversation with you, but send me a list of 5 people that you know that you need to follow up with. And they might get kind of cranky and go, why? I mean, like, are you going to call them for me, or what are you going to do with these people? And you're like, no. I just want to kind of have it in the forefront that you do have 5 people to call. Now, if they don't provide that list to you, then you know for a fact that they weren't serious about it, and they just needed to have that time with you. And they just really wanted to vampire your energy. And I think it's okay to say, you know what, I'm really coming from a place of love, but I really have to honor my mission this year, or I really have to honor the currency, which is my time and my effort. So I want to match that. I want to meet you there. And I think the other great thing that you can say is, I see great potential in you. So I'm going to hold you to a higher standard from this point on. So if this is something that you've never really been known to do, and it's not something I've been known to do, because I'll take the call and work with them and, practically, again, come over and reupholster their couch. But I think offer a compliment and tell them you do see great potential in them. And when they're ready, they'll send you that list. And after then, you'll have that time with them. You'll have that call with them. You can tell them that you want to see them succeed. You're going to hold them to it. And I think that, at the end, both of you are better for it. So compliment them, hold your posture, don't give in, even if they're like, yeah, but I really, really need that time with you. It's going to keep me out of therapy this week and save me all this money. You have to, again, establish where they deserve your time. And if they're not willing to send you the most simple little assignment, 5 names, like go to the phone book, pull out 5 names, this could be that easy, then they really didn't deserve your time to begin with. Okay, so let's say that they do the assignment, and they do bring you those 5 names. You can say that they earned your time. And I think that knowing that they earned it and actually saying those words, people respond better to things that they actually earned. And if you think about the psychology behind that, think about your own upbringing and your friends who were somewhat entitled, or this was always a really interesting example for me. My friends who paid their way through college versus mommy and daddy paying for college. How many of those mommy and daddy paying for college kids like showed up to classes? Well, I paid my way through school, the school that I did do. And I went, like I took it very seriously. I didn't take it lightly because paying my tuition was a big chunk of money, and things that cost a lot of money that I have earned, I take good care of. I'll never forget one of my friend's husbands getting in my car. They had the exact same car. And he said, "You don't have ground in French fries in your carpet, in your car." And I had like towels underneath my kids' car seats. Well, that couple that had the ground in French fries in their car mats came across that money very easily, therefore purchased the car very easily. But I did not. And so when I bought my car, it was like a prized possession that I took total pride in. And just, again, think about earning something versus being it given to you. And do you kind of feel a little shift in your head like, oh, I do see that. Like the people that have earned my time actually go out and duplicate time and time again. So this assignment, I hope you understand, it's not about the 5 names, right? It's about earning your time. It's about deciding and determining if they're willing to do it, then they're probably going to actually do the work, okay? So make it super easy. At the end, it doesn't really matter. You just really want to know if they have done the work and therefore, will respect your time. Okay, so always make sure and check yourself through these kind of new changes, if this is a new philosophy, a new way of leading, a new way of mentoring, that you are coming from a place of love, and remind them that you're holding them to a higher standard, and say that you're holding yourself to a higher standard. Because in my mind, in order to change this moving forward, I am holding myself to a higher standard. I am respecting my time more. And because of it, I won't be so exhausted by the end of the day and want to, fall into my bed at 8 p.m., which is really like when I like to go to bed. Okay. So think about this next philosophy, being taught or like from a pamphlet or a book, or something being modeled. Which do people learn better from? From books and pamphlets, or actually seeing the action done, modeled, right? So rather than open up the lines and let you answer, I'm going to tell you the answer is modeled. People respond better and retain better from seeing habits and actions modeled. And so what you've just done with suggesting these 5 names in order to have this time and appointment with you, if you start doing that, your team will start doing it too. And pretty soon, everybody's like living in harmony and everybody's one big happy family. But if you've established that you are just a pushover and you'll take a call from anybody and you'll work with anybody, they too will think that they have to do that. They have to do this job that way. They have to be available at all hours of the day, just in case, little Johnny has a sniffle and somebody wants to enroll. Like, they will respect you. They will also duplicate you and not be exhausted. And how many of us have had people on our teams go, I really want what you have, but it looks like you're doing it all the time. It looks super hard. And I don't want to be on the phone that long. I don't have that kind of time in my day. So instead of having a really open conversation with you, they just don't do. They just don't want to build the business because maybe you've made it look like it's really, really intense and it's hard and you get taken advantage of and you drag around dead bodies. So, I mean, think about what message you're sending and make sure that the message and the actions that they're going to duplicate make sense and that they won't be wasting their time, because eventually, you know, the news is going to be out that this is a hard business and that it's, you know, not heart-led. And I think it's good to be authentic and real and not send anybody on a wild goose chase. But I also think it's kind of cool knowing now what we know hopefully after this call, you can just move forward with a little bit more posture. Like, yeah, this is a really smart business. This is based on psychology. This is based on people's needs and wants and desires and and so much more. So I love that. So to be successful, you have to take time away from other things. And I think that that's also part of the psychology involved in this. Is it's a sacrifice. And, you know, nobody's ever met anybody that has just had so much extra time on their hands that they're willing to come over and upholster your couch. I mean, like, think about it. When you've talked to people, do people say, yeah, I've got so much extra time, I would just love to waste it. Like, let's go waste time together. Time is a commodity and you've got to respect it. So to be successful, you also have to determine if the person that you are wanting to work with, wanting to mentor, wanting to train and bring along is going to take time away from something else to put into this. And I know that sounds crazy because we've been taught and trained and enrolled with this crazy belief that you can build this in the pockets of your time, pockets of your life. Super easy. Like if you're at the playground with your son, Johnny, who has a sniffle, but you took him anyway, you can just pick up the phone and just call 17 people and become an Isogenics millionaire overnight. It's that easy. No, it's never been that easy. I watched Trudy become an Isogenics millionaire in 24 months, but I also watched her jump through hoops and get to the front of the line and have, I think, 7,000 conversations to enroll the 400 people that she has. It wasn't easy. And we were doing it at all hours of the day, all hours of the night. We were doing the business because we were excited. We weren't tired. They didn't have BIA yet, but they had e-shots. But I mean, we're getting really like real with this, right? It is not super, super easy. I think that you can set aside some time to be very effective and efficient if you only have 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day. But who are we fooling? I mean, we work this thing, right? So when you think about that person who, you know, has 17 kids and 15 dogs and runs a dog shelter from their home, but they need to make more money, they're probably going to have to sacrifice or give up something in order to do this. And you know that a person has to sacrifice something in order to put that time into the thing that they're saying is going to get them to their goals, right? So a lot of, I mean, I didn't watch a lot of TV early in my build. I'm obsessed with a few shows now, and I had some guilty pleasures, The Real Housewives of Orange County, but I would tape it or Devo it or whatever we call it, DVR it, so that I could watch it later, like when I was doing something else, and I could fast forward through the commercials. I became more effective and efficient about the things that I like to do. I could cut some time off of this so I could put it in this. And, you know, teaching cycling classes, it's kind of a great way to get a workout. I get paid and I'm prospecting. You know, it's really, if you don't have the ability to take time away from something, then you've got to find it somewhere. So another great assignment that you can give to people is reminding them that this is a skill-based business. It is going to take time to do. They probably won't be watching a lot of Netflix. They probably, I've actually told folks, if you want to do this, you want to be on my ISA rally team, you're probably not going to go to little Johnny's every single one of his soccer games. Like, you're going to have to find a way to take some time out of what you're currently doing and put it into this instead, because we're asking you to raise the bar, not just like get to the bar. This requires some additional stuff. And I don't know why we have to teach people that, but stuff just doesn't come naturally. It doesn't just fall into your lap, right? We don't have people lined up on our doorstep to get value packs. We have to put the work into it. So when a person is super, super busy, I've been doing social media branding calls where we actually do deep dives into their Facebook pages, how many Facebook friends they have. If a person isn't even willing to meet me in my schedule where I have these hour-long chunks of time to actually help them with their social media, they won't commit an hour to me. I've got to cross that person off the list, because they're like, I've got a little chunk here and I've got a chunk here when this kid's napping. And I'm like, I'm 53 years old. I don't need to plan my life around your kid's nap schedule. But probably before last week, I would have done it. I would have probably gone, okay, we've got 20 minutes, let's do this. And then we've got 15 tomorrow. And then I'll race home from my cycling class and not eat all day just so I can be available for little Johnny's nap. No, you have to establish. And this is new, guys. This is new to me. I, in the past, would have bent over backwards and pulled over on the way to a trip and taken it where I've got cell service and changed my whole schedule to accommodate a 15-minute window that a person is not even all that excited to give me. I mean, it's really an interesting philosophy when you actually look at what you've been willing to do. So you give them an assignment again, and suggest, you've said to me that you really want to be successful with this. I'll tell you what, I think it's a really important thing to start reading a book. Let's read a book that takes about 4 to 5 days. And I want you to think about your takeaways from the book, write them down. And then when we have our follow-up call, we'll go over those things. And a person might say, I'm not a reader. And it's like, okay, well, you're going to have to be for this particular assignment. I want you to alter some of your behaviors. I want you to read a book, not on audio, because I want you to make some notes, and then we'll follow up. So you want to set a really short time frame. And in this case, Go Pro takes about 4 to 5 days to read. You set up that appointment to get on the phone, and you can really, again, determine if a person is really in it to win it, if they're wet wood, if they're a spark, if they're a flame. So you again remind them that you see the potential in them. You come from a place of love. You suggest this book. You say, we'll get together on Friday over the phone. Have your notes ready from the book because we're going to discuss it. And you give them a very clear objective. So it's one that they've agreed to. And this might be a person that has said, I really need some additional coaching on connecting, or I need some additional coaching on enrolling. So your objective is to have a conversation about enrolling, but the currency is them reading this book first. So if you get on the phone with them after the 4 to 5 days and they have read the book and they've got notes and they're like, yeah, I loved it. And the part that I loved the most was on page 58. And I highlighted this whole area and I took 17 pages of notes. That person is most likely a buyer, right? Pouring gasoline on that person, spending some additional time with that person would be worth your time. It's clear. They did their work. They showed up to the appointment. They had their notes and everything. Now, maybe you've got somebody that just kind of thumbed through the book, but they still got the book. They read the book. That person might need a little bit more vision. You can pour some more belief into them, but that is probably a spark. That person you could probably throw some gasoline on and they would actually ignite and then be contagious and start a fire with some other people. Now, if you have a person that does get on the phone, but they had every excuse like, oh, you should have seen my week. I actually didn't even have success getting the book. Amazon was sold out. And then little Johnny Sniffle, I've run out of Kleenex and I had to go to the store and get more. And now we've got a rash. And I mean, you've got to realize that's a wetwood person and they're just not going to do it. There will always be excuses. And I think really important here when you start looking at yourself and how am I as a leader and oh my gosh, I really, really want to help that person and take them a box of Kleenex and some Neosporin for little Johnny's nose. Remind yourself that they failed them. You didn't fail them. You didn't make them not do the work, right? Really important. And I think a way that you can look back on yourself and make sure that you don't get bummed out by it. Because I take this stuff personally, like, what did I not send them the link to Amazon? Did I not send them a gift card to buy the book for the assignment? Like, I could see myself beating myself up for not providing enough detail, enough spoon feeding, right? But they'll suck your energy. And if you get sucked energy enough times from enough people, you are not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing your team any favors. You're probably failing in other categories of your life because you're just always trying to keep up and please everybody and make sure that everybody's satisfied and feeling good and buying the book. And so just remind yourself that there's always these times to do a little check-in. And again, if you are coming from a place of anger, you don't want to be a parental figure, but you want to find the people that are willing to do the work. And hopefully you'll do these little assignments, these little mechanisms to just determine who are those people that want to do the work. Because we think they all want to do the work at the beginning. I believe every single person that I enroll is going to be an Isagenix millionaire. Well, I've probably wasted half of my career so far just pouring belief into people that absolutely do not believe in themselves at all. So I'm super glad to have this little lesson. So when we're thinking about all of the time that maybe we've wasted on people that won't even put the time and effort into themselves, we will only grow to the next level of our exhaustion. And I know I've talked to other leaders who are just flat ass exhausted. And I don't know if there's enough BIA on this planet for that. I don't know if it's BIA and 3E shots that can repair the exhaustion that can be caused. And the message that sends, I mentioned earlier that some of our teammates just don't want to do what they see you doing. Like, I don't want to have to do that. So they just don't. But if everything is flowing really well and the people that want it are the ones that you're working with and you're rank advancing people, then it will look a lot easier to your teammates. And that's probably why we're told, don't ever talk down to your team. If you have an issue, talk across or talk up. Because you don't ever want a teammate to go, oh my gosh, I thought I wanted to do this, but did you hear about Sybil's day? How many people she had meetings with? How many appointments she had? I mean, did you see the back of her hair? She hasn't even combed it in like 3 days. I mean, we just have to always remember the message that we're sending, okay? Because sometimes I do have critters that live back here. Sorry if you've seen them. But I'm coming from a place of love, okay? All right, so this is a really, really strategic, effective way of being able to remind people that they do have time, that they have told you that they want this, reminding them of their why, reminding them of what it was that they originally wanted. But again, it needs to happen one-on-one, probably not in a group setting, but it's about creating tension. And when you think about a rope that has tension in it, it's pulled both directions really, really tight, right? So you're going to try to create tension with yourself and this person that has told you that they want it. It's super effective but really, really hard and really weird and really unique. And you don't really hear of it happening a whole lot, but it can work. But before you ever open the conversation, take them to that place and just say, hey, are you really at the place that you're willing to do some kind of unconventional things to get you to your goals? Because if you are, I am, I'll meet you there. So it's just about a very open-minded environment. And one of the reasons that we are so open-minded and we all do the 1, 2, 3 isogenics in like group settings and at events, and we've just seen Jim and Kathy, and like we're drinking the Kool-Aid and we're like, yay, we're going to change the world. This is our year. 2020 is it, which I still believe. But it's because we're willing to accept those messages in those environments. Maybe you're not willing to accept those messages from a Zoom call or from a leadership call or from isogenicslive.com when we're told to join the IsoDerby. But in an event situation or in a one-on-one place where they've asked us, are you willing to play 100%? Like David Wood asks you the question before he does anything. And if nobody says no, everybody, yes, David, of course. Yeah, bring your big black sexy jeans on over here. Of course I'm going to play 100% because you've just asked that of me. Like ask that of people because that's what it's going to take. So you're trying to create some tension. You're getting them into that open mind, and you're going to instill some kind of new philosophies, some new habits, some new activities that might get everybody to their goals. So you know a philosophy that is called want for gain or fear of loss. It's two specific opposite philosophies. So there's people that want for gain, and then there's people that just fear the loss. So the fear of loss. And again, this is kind of how you create that tension. So if you think about some of the incentives that are offered by Isogenics, they're kind of exciting. We're kind of interested, and we kind of are competitive, and we kind of want to reach for those things. We get paid extremely well as it is. We get paid on cycles. We get paid with our PIBs. But what if you were working with somebody at corporate and you're like, I'm missing the mark. I mean, I'm not rank advancing. I'm not enrolling. I'm not this. I'm not that. Yeah, but Sybil, you make 6 figures. You get these PIBs. Are you the type of person that responds really well to gaining something or losing something? What if I were to sweeten the pot, sweeten the deal? So from now on, when you do an enrollment, you get the PIB, but I'm also going to give you $100. How much effort do you put into that action, that activity, that goal? We're kind of used to getting $100 increments donated into our back office. And it's kind of like, yeah, I don't even know how I got that, but that's awesome. It's very, very, I guess, uneventful. Like there's not a bunch of celebration that went into it. It wasn't a huge increase in income, but it was a nice gesture. Like, yeah, throw it my way. I'll go for it. But what happens if you don't hit it? Does it really bother you? You didn't have it to begin with, right? So think about this though. What if you're working with corporate and they say, hey, Sybil, when you make your next enrollment, I'm going to give you that $100. But next week, if you don't get an enrollment, you're going to pay me $100. Well, there's no way in the world I'm going to give $100 away. And I have been fairly successful in explaining stuff that's being left on the table by having people visualize a toilet flushing. Because when you explain to a person what's on the table with their PIBs and all of their bonuses and so on, they see it as like a chunk of money, but it's not theirs anyway, so they can just walk by it. I'm like, you're walking by a toilet that is like full of $3,500. Are you going to reach in and get it or not? So what if you had to give somebody $100 when you didn't reach that goal or didn't enroll somebody? I think that you would really feel it a little bit differently. So I want you to think about that in determining how you proceed with people. And there's an app that is called Stick, STIKK, that you can actually donate money, or you have to put in your credit card. And if you don't hit a goal, they take the money out. And you can have an accountability buddy. You can have them hold you to this standard. We did it on our team a few years ago, and it was really cool. So we're out of time, but there's just so many different methods and ways that we can use these different philosophies and the psychology that we've learned through life, even in our parenting style, to really bring out the best in people and have people start respecting you. And I think your posture from this point on needs to be that you are gasoline. You, the leader, you are gasoline, and that you do have a rocket ship. But in order to join your rocket ship, people are going to have to do the work. It's not going to come just by itself. And if they don't do the work, you're still a rocket ship. You're still going to have seats on that rocket ship. And when they're ready to do the work, you can let them onto your rocket ship. But your rocket ship needs to be filled with people that are willing to do the work, respect your time, respect everything that you have to offer. And that all comes in your posture. I think there will be a lot more happy people knowing these little secrets and tricks of the trade and knowing kind of why a person responds the way they do. You can spend a lot more effort looking into these different activities, different homework, different assignments. But for now, just understand that if things haven't been going your way up to this point, that might be one reason why, because we've been dragging wet wood around and we're willing to work with everybody. If you can be a rocket ship in your posture from this point forward and have people earn your hot commodity, your currency, your time, and your energy, I think that everybody will move forward a little bit healthier, a little bit happier, and a lot more success can happen. So I really appreciate your time. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you guys understand that, you know, you're not failing people, they're failing them, and just move forward, understanding that they possess what they need. You can help them see it and guide them, but it really is a group effort. You got to both do the work. And I think it's just one of those things that, you know, I had such an aha moment when I heard this training last week that I'm so glad to have brought it to you. So I hope that it helps. Any questions or comments? Or everybody was muted the whole time and my mouth is dry and I'm going to take a sip of water. Anybody have anything? Anybody? So excited to see everybody at NYKO. I hope everybody on this call is actually coming to NYKO because it's going to be amazing. And I think, you know, our company continues to just dazzle me. I'm excited to see what they launch next week. Exciting stuff. Anything, anybody? You guys go and have a great rest of your Monday night, and hopefully we'll see everybody next week. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining, you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, Sybil. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being on, you guys. Awesome.